let me put this part of the conversation on hold. Let me introduce Baratunde Thurston, who is here with us. You are on mute, so if you want to unmute yourself and hop in, can you tell us what laundry detergent you use and why does that make your life better?
Yeah, well, I think get whiter whites is the official Trump administration immigration policy, actually. So we've got that going for us. I put a jacket on too because I heard T-shirts were not fancy enough. So I hope this qualifies me to be on this stream. My name is Baratunde Thurston. I'm coming to you from a hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona, where I spoke at the Code conference here. And I'm happy to be here sitting technically, but metaphorically standing for net neutrality, level playing field, and equal access to information. What's up?
What's up, indeed. I thought the Trump administration was, about orange, not white. So maybe I'm just a little bit confused on my color coding here. Yeah, I had to go for the low-hanging fruit. So you have a really impressive resume. You've worked for The Onion. You have a New York Times best-selling book. You covered the 2008 Democratic National Convention to a lot of fanfare. Tell us a little bit about your experience as a content creator, about how you feel net neutrality has protected your voice and allowed you to kind of speak about your experiences and provide you with a platform to develop a community that follows you.
So I'll go a little more historic than just my particular sort of performance career.
Would love it.
And my mother was a computer programmer for the federal government back in the early 80s. I grew up raised by her, me and my older sister in Washington, D.C. And technology helped our family economically, gave me a lot of creative inspiration, which has allowed me to have some pretty dope jobs, Onion, The Daily Show, and to just be more empowered in my life, right? Finding better deals on things, learning, and getting access to information that helps me live better. I also had this period of life where I worked for about 8 years in telecommunications as a strategy consultant. And so I did a lot of business advisory work for big telcos and for some new startups that were trying to challenge those later on. And I think what is helpful for people to ask themselves in terms of the net neutrality question is, when have you ever said to yourself, who I want to have more power in my life is the phone company. Do you know who I enjoy dealing with is the cable company. Those are just things that have never been said before. We don't have extraordinary magical.
I was just saying that.
I mean, maybe masochists say that, but they're getting a whole different fix. And much power to them, but that's not most of us. And so I think what I see is an industry which has a large lock. We don't have a lot of competition in broadband in this country. We barely have things that should be defined as broadband in this country. If you look at the true down and upstream speeds that are available to most people, and you start getting away from city centers and away from, very wealthy urban environments, it's pretty pathetic given the wealth of the nation that we're in the US, and given that we pioneered this technology. We're still kind of stuck in those pioneering days. But I think having a handful of companies that are facing very little competition further stratify the access that we have, limit the speeds that we have access to, and get in the way of us getting access to the economic opportunity that I benefited from, to the creative possibilities that have been so much a part of my life. It's actually just un-American in the highest sense of what America can be. In the average and low sense, it's very American, but we strive to do something better. So I just think, look, if you're happy with your relationship with Comcast Spectrum and you want to give them more for less, you don't want the net neutrality thing. I get it. If you are happy paying your phone company a lot of money for a little service, continue to do that. But if you, on the other hand, feel like we have a lot more room to grow and a lot more space to go in this country, then we need to have this critical asset, broadband, be way more available, way more affordably than it is right now. America's not exactly kicking butt right now, and we could use all the help we could get competitively, business-wise, creatively, justice-wise. And I think that means bringing a lot more people into this superpower of true broadband internet access for as many as possible.
I love that. And I love, I think I have a very similar thought as you. You kind of mentioned the opportunities you've benefited from. and how you want other people to share those opportunities. That's the way I feel. I'm very, very lucky to have the opportunities that I've had. I want more people to have the experiences I've had. I want more people to have access to the education, to the news articles, to the friends, to the experiences. And the internet is just such an amazing way to open that up to so many other people. Speaking of other people, Evan Greer, we're back on with you. We have a ton of guests here. Welcome back. How are you doing? Who do we want to talk to next?
I'm doing good. I put on a blazer since there was so much discussion about, you know, what everyone was wearing. I talked to a congressman earlier today without a blazer. So, Baratunde, I'm so stoked you joined. I know, like, I've been a fan of your work for a long time. Maybe last, like, before we let you go, and I know, you know, as Dayton said, we do have a ton of other folks to talk to, but, you know, one thing I've been sharing a lot today is, like, my story as an LGBTQ artist, and like finding a voice and using the internet to share my art at a scale that never would have been possible in an era where I wouldn't have had access to the backing of a corporate record label or things like that. And I feel like that's really true. You know, we're seeing like an explosion of independent art and creation from a much broader range of people than we like saw on TV when I was growing up. And I'm just curious if you could just talk a little bit about that. Like, why is, you know, there's so many issues we could work on, like climate change, like, you know, there's 2 million people in prison, like, you know, there are children in cages, and the Trump administration attacking immigrant families. You know, why is the internet important, like in a day and age when all of that other stuff is going on? And how does it shape our society?
Thank you very much for that, Evan. I agree with all those things and all those issues and how important they are. And a lot of us on this stream are working on more than one thing at a time, but they do connect. Certainly, I got where I got because as I joked very early in my career, Google was my agent, and you know, Friendster was my manager, and I was able to discover and be discovered by other artists who, you know, we work together and have gotten some great distance outside of the traditional gatekeeping space. I think the internet isn't the internet anymore. And I think when we talk about it as this other world, this literal cyberspace that's separate from the world of the NBA finals and the world of mass incarceration and the world of Game of Thrones and the world of college education, we do ourselves a disservice. Everything's on the internet. That's the point. It is bigger infrastructure than the highway system. It is bigger infrastructure eventually than electricity and sewage. It is the thing on which all things happen. And those things can be beautiful and brilliant and bring us together and bring some joy to our lives. And they can be exploitative and extractive and make us feel less than who we are. So I think for me, the internet is not the internet. It's where life happens. It's where politics happens. It's where art and commerce happen. And so making sure that infrastructure is as fair as possible so that all the other things we build on it have a chance at being fair. If you believe that media representation matters because you can't be it if you can't see it, then you care about a fair and open internet because all media is going to live on that. The same is true for economic opportunities. The same is true for justice access, housing access. All these things are mediated. The job you don't yet have, you're probably going to because of the internet or not because of certain rules that are set up about how people operate on the internet. So again, the internet is not the internet. It's our access point to everything we actually care about. And so it's worth protecting and ensuring a level of fairness in that access point. So we have the option of fairness in everything upstream from that.
Well, I love the way that you break these issues down in a way that folks out there can understand, and just super appreciate having you on. Like I said, been a big fan for quite some time of a lot of different elements of your work. Can you really quick, you know, speaking of economic opportunity and success, where can people find you on the internet, support you? And Malcolm, before we let you go, I'm going to let you say that as well, and then we're going to move on. We got like a backlog of other guests. We got Congressman Ro Khanna coming up in about 10 minutes. I just heard Tom Wheeler from you know, former chair of the FCC might be joining us. It's a wild, epic all-day live stream. So Baratunde, where can people find you on the internet? And then Malcolm Fleschner, if you could say the same, and then we will move right on to Brigida Santos. So please stick around.
Yeah, you can find me wherever Baratundes are found online. pick your platform, type my name the way you think it's spelled, and it will probably autocorrect to find me. Or go to mine, baratunde.com, Baratunde. I also have a Patreon if people want to get even deeper inside the machine and help me make some of the things I'm working on next. Thank you so much for having me co-host and be a part of this epic live stream. Perfectly titled. Good job in the domain name registration.
Awesome. It was great to have you on. Thanks so much.